Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Cipher System rules by Monty Cook Games. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. We're happy to have you with us on this journey of cosmic wonder. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living from the vast reaches of unknown space, are strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your game master. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your game master this evening, Michael Diamond. My pronouns are he, him, and we are back with our Children of the Periphery sci-fi series, the one we use the Cipher System by Monty Cook Games for. We are thankful to have you in and to have you as a listener. And if you are a wonderful Patreon supporter, we greatly appreciate that as well. You can join those folks at patreon.com/The Old Ways Podcast. You can check us out on YouTube and, of course, on Twitch at twitch.tv/The Old Ways Twitch. I would like to now turn to my wonderful cast and let them introduce themselves, and we'll get started to my right.
Hi, this is Morgan, and I play Captain Amara Casra, or formerly Captain whatever my whatever is now. And our pronouns are she, her, and Amara is a brash explorer who learns quickly.
Absolutely. And next to Captain Amara.
Hi, this is Rena. I play Tamarisk Anvari. Our pronouns are they, them. Tamarisk is an empathic speaker who commands mental powers, and I do not like the Major General.
Yeah, that's an opinion some folks can have, I'm sure. No doubt. At the end of the table.
Hi, my name is Mare, and I play Cordelia Oren. Our pronouns are she, her, and Cordelia is a beneficent warrior who wears power armor and is now sort of, in name, the captain of the Periphery. My bad, Captain Casra.
Yeah, it does seem like there has been a sort of forced change in some of the way the pyramid scheme is set up, and that's going to cause all sorts of joy and wonder and happiness amongst the crew, I have no doubt. Last, but most certainly not least.
Hi, this is John. I'll be playing Fida. We both use he, him pronouns, and Fida is a mechanical explorer who talks to machines. And I am glad to say Fida has never been convicted of taking part in any sort of pyramid scheme. Nope, no evidence was ever found that could concretely show that he was involved.
Absolutely. We'll just shuffle all this evidence over here off the table really quick.
I burned all that evidence. Why is it still here?
So we're going to raise the curtain tonight aboard the Nadir, a ship which has recently gone through some changes and continues to. So we'll pick up about 8 hours or so after the meeting with the Major General and then the sort of personal meeting that Cordelia got to have with the Major General. And in doing so, we're going to refresh all of our players' pools. So you're all topped off. You've had a chance to rest and relax. Relax being a relative term. And we're going to begin with Cordelia. So orders come down from Major General Garrison that the effort to continue what the Nadir's mission is going to commence immediately. This is a broadcast order that all Legionnaires get. And you probably do a little bit of a double take, realizing that you're not the only Legionnaire here on the ship that's active now. And so, like when you walk around in your power armor, there are other green blips now that move throughout the ship regularly. And it's a little strange, probably, to see all that activity and not think, oh, that's a member of the crew, or that's Fida, or that's this person. But the order comes down that the Nadir is going to begin the mass colonization of the planet. That they're going to be moving resources from the Nadir, including Legionnaires, to a point on the surface which the general has determined is the best position for it. In that order, they also state that the continued awakening of the administration staff is going to commence. But until there is a quorum of them available, that the ship still operates under military command. And then soon after that, you get orders directly, Colonel, and those orders detail that you are going to be sent a detachment of 6 Legionnaires and probably about 25 metric tons of equipment that's coming up from locker, because you and the Periphery are going to lead the colonization effort aboard the planet. He signs it. Congratulations. Oh, and it's important to point out, just for our members from the Third Horizon, it's really important to point out that none of you get this message. Only Cordelia does. Just none of you have commissions yet within the military just yet. So you're all awake, probably hungry. The canteen awaits. Captain, you have several messages from Rakam on your communicator. They're messages that came in overnight via text, mostly because Rakam realized that you were likely sleeping and so didn't want to wake you. You get detailed pictures of inventory being staged near the ship, including mass cargo containers. And then there are now also 4 Legionnaires that are sort of sitting at rest in the bay near the ship.
Yeah, I just type a silent response to Rakam, thanking him for the information. And then I will get up, get ready, and go to the canteen.
Anybody else joining Captain Khosra in the canteen?
Oh, 100%. Breakfast is mandatory.
Most important meal of the day.
It is.
Okay. I'd love to know, Cordelia, what how your morning is. What's the aim there? Are you doing your laps around the ship?
Yeah, Cordelia has absolutely gone through her morning routine, the same as mentioned before, just kind of dodging others as well who are either doing that. She wants to make sure she does all of that, and that's a way for her to clear her head. Because over the past couple of weeks, well, yes, the Major General pointing out these have looked and smelled like pirates for a skinny minute, but their reasonings as far as not colonizing on a place that has already been, particularly one that the last time we tried to bring a ship through tried to fire at us, which is information the Major General would know. She's just trying to sort out her thoughts. She probably even has one of those moments where as she's jogging through there and does like that thing where you pass by the canteen and looks in to see who's in there and then just keeps going for a little bit until maybe she sees the first 1 or 2 of them in there and is moves on into the canteen as well, starts making her way through, obviously like greeting some of the other Legionnaires as well who's there before. She doesn't know how to approach this part because she's in a little bit of a rock and a hard place.
It's understandable. So we'll say that the crew from the Periphery is in the canteen together. You are now sharing it with probably about 3 or 4 other Legionnaires who are in power armor, and they've altered, that's the best way to put it, they've altered the canteen so that way they can sit in like the side spaces. They've moved some of the tables out far enough so that way they can still be in their power armor and eat. It's a little funny because there's just these big hulking suits of armor that's sitting in there eating Wheaties or whatever. But yeah, you're now having to share the canteen with other people.
Yeah, I get coffee or whatever passes for coffee currently.
Coffee.
Yep.
Remember, they have better coffee than us.
And I sit as far away from the other Legionnaire or the Legionnaires that I don't know as possible.
Yeah, okay. I love this. I love the sort of school lunch crowd here. Definitive clicks are being made. And I think it's at that point when you pass by again in some of your laps, Cordelia, you see someone you don't recognize, but you do recognize what they're wearing. You see an elegant, long, sky blue uniform. This is not a military uniform at all. This is like something someone would wear for fashion, which is a little strange because it just doesn't fit with any of the stuff that's here. What you see is a planetary administrator. It's a mostly androgynous person. I say that because there's no real definitive features that you could peg on them. They're wearing this sort of sky blue uniform, very flowy. It has brass-colored like sleeve ends on both the arms and legs. They wear a belt that gives it some sort of form and function, but they're moving toward the canteen. Maybe a little slow. Looks like maybe they just woke up.
And are they in the hallway, like entering towards the canteen at the same time as myself?
Yeah, you're like doing your morning run.
Cordelia would approach, kind of slowing down so that she could actually make her way into the canteen, having finished her run, and seeing this person. And just, good morning.
Good morning. I think.
Space, who knows? Lieutenant Colonel Cordelia Oren. Happy to have you join us.
Oh, Colonel, thank you. I'm Administrator Zia. They extend their hand.
Cordelia takes it and shakes it. Firm but fair. How did you find coming out of cryo?
Shocking. It was pretty distressing to see how much changed. We've lost an awful lot.
We have.
And how are you faring?
Well enough. It has been a trying few weeks, but as we are trying to manage and understand our circumstances and trying to mitigate the problems that have arisen, particularly with our supplies.
Yes, the Major General had mentioned that there were some work ongoing to secure more water.
Yes. Water has been secured. It's now food and other resources, particularly to maintain the Nadir, and in order to awaken anyone else who would be able to without us running out of the existing resources upon the Nadir.
They nod pretty thoughtfully. You can tell that they seem concerned. Well, I don't want to be a burden, but I do need to eat something. The
Yes.
staff has advised me that it's important to eat something.
Yes, it's that weird moment where, you're both hungry, but you're not really having an appetite. I understand. Coming out was it's a little rough, isn't it?
Well, the alternative was they'd look around. Less than ideal.
Fair enough. Here. And she waves her hand in just after you to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the crew picks up on a person walking into the canteen that does not fit the description of either a member of the Periphery or a Legionnaire. It's the first non-military person that you have seen. They go to the food dispensing devices and seem to try to work their way through. They don't look like they're uneducated in how the machinery works here, but more like they're not awake. And then you all see Cordelia at some point.
And we can say for fun, because she was just working out, that it's tiny Cordelia vibes because she's not in her power armor yet. But she'll make her way in, kind of the underlayer of the standard uniform of the Nadir that would have been underneath her power armor in this, making her way to grabbing her own coffee and her meal, and then making her way over to the Periphery crew, kind of gingerly sitting down. But good morning. We have a new face among us. That is Administrator Zia, one of the civilians aboard.
Lovely.
They're waking up.
What does an administrator do?
In order for us not to maintain a militant control over here, as the Legionnaires, we want to ensure that we're starting to get the civilians awake, as they are the detachment that truly runs this operation.
Fidey just has visions of how, oh god, this is what must have happened on board the Zenith before it became Coriolis Station, and oh god, we're going to get all the same old factions, and I don't know what we can do to stop it.
Does Cordelia see this sort of playing across Fida's face?
Yeah, this Fida's face does not shut up.
Okay. Cordelia's looking at Fida's face and is like, can we have this one not be an I'll tell you later situation? Because I don't know how much later we have.
So, the Zenith arrived the Zenith arrived, according to plan, and according to what I learned in school, it just They set about the plan, they turned the ship into a space station, and all the administrators woke up, and then they formed weird factions based on common interests or lack of interests, and established themselves as a... We didn't have central government. In the Third Horizon, you really had to... You were with a faction. We didn't have, like every planet had a government, more or less. Sometimes a system would have one. But, really, it was all faction-based. It was very... I had to consult the computers about some of the stuff that the Major General was saying. We didn't have that. We have large factions which are prone to infighting and have... The whole thing ran on conspiracy, and he kind of like turns to the other two and he's like, would you say self-interest?
That's a very good way to put it, yes.
Oh, thank you.
So, Captain, what's the plan for today?
Cordelia makes a bit of a face at that and sips on her coffee.
Ida passes no comment. He just looks down at his coffee and he's like, sip. Oh, it's so awkward. I hate when Mom and Mom fight.
Cordelia's not having a good time. She sips at her coffee and goes, well, one of two things. Number one, if they're waking up the first of the administrators, that means the other 12 will, or the other 11, correct me if I'm wrong, storyteller. Was it 12 total or 13 total?
It's 13 total.
13 total, okay. So now with one of the administrators awake, the other 12 are likely not long to follow. In speaking with the Major General, alongside the commission that I have over the Periphery at this time, as she looks to Captain Kasra, the one way that we're going to be able to... She takes a big, deep breath. I've been placed in charge of a detachment to use the Periphery to go down to the surface in order to begin the colonization process. With that being said, I can do what I can to prevent not so much the access of resources, but the speed at which we do things. That is a control that I have over this. Resources are necessary for our continued survival. I don't see any other planets that we can get to with the Nadir, or with the Periphery, in this case. But I will... She kind of like hems and haws for a minute. She's like, so far me asking for things from the Major General has had mixed results. But given that you, as the crew of the Periphery, have knowledge, better knowledge of its advanced technology, etc., I would love to be able to have you all aboard as we make our efforts. And also to fly it. And also to, I guess ensure that they don't break it. And she just looks and shrugs in Legionnaire because she knows her people.
Well, it's really gracious of you to come allow us onto the Periphery to fly it, Cordelia.
She rolls her eyes. I'm doing the best I can with what I have here. I didn't want them awake like this. We needed to have a better plan. We needed to have more access to things. I understand this is less than ideal. It's either that or another Legionnaire is in charge of it. Someone who doesn't know you or have regard for your vessel.
Yeah, whatever you need us to do to get this over with quickly so I can be on my merry way.
I'm going to do the best I can with what we have here. As she glances around.
You glance around and you see that Zia is about 4 steps from the table, stirring their coffee, looking very intently at the conversation that's taking place.
I don't get to roll to have perceived that she was walking over.
You're way too focused on guilt and...
Great, I thought I was speaking lowly enough. All right, that's fine.
They step over another step and say, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say that the colonization process is starting?
Orders have been given by the Major General in order to move equipment towards the planet's surface.
You watch a single eyebrow raise. They take a long sip of the coffee, probably their first coffee in, well, several hundred years.
Mm-hmm.
They set it down on the table that you're using. It seems this is a detail the Major General left out.
Oh, well, that seems like an issue to bring to the Major General. Administrator, may I please introduce you to the crew of another vessel aboard this vessel, the Periphery.
They nod.
I'm sure that you were briefed on their presence here?
We were briefed in the, I won't say vaguest of terms, but in very quickly.
In bullet point fashion.
Yes.
Right. So these are the bullet points. This is, and she starts to say Captain Kasra, Captain Amara Kasra of the Periphery, a vessel with which I have temporary
Captainage
over. Yes. Temporary, emphasizing that, and is just trying to send those beams of goodwill towards Captain Kasra, knowing that it's running into a wall. And then this is Mix, Tamarisk, and Vari. And this is Fida. I don't think that Cordelia's ever asked for or obtained Fida's surname.
Fida doesn't have one?
Oh, well, that would be why. So, and this is Fida. They are all crew from aboard a vessel known as the Periphery, which have been crucial in our initial efforts here as I awoke from cryo.
Oh, they woke you up.
It's a long story. She looks to Fida. We'll have to go into the details of that a little later. However, yes, I woke from cryo. You have been briefed on the amount of time that the Nadir has had us in cryo?
Yes, I am aware it has been some time, much longer than we were expecting.
Yes. So, for us, they are from the future. For them, we are from the past. But that means that there were successful colonizations that had occurred before, which is good news in the sea of not so good news.
It's my understanding that there are factions on the world already.
Yes, people already live there.
The Major General has assured me that the place he's picked is far from these spaces. It is still a concern. I wonder if it might be more fruitful to attempt to attain resources from the planet in a temporary fashion until we can find something which is not inhabited.
That would be preferable.
I will speak with the Major General on it. I appreciate you enlightening me, Colonel, as to the situation.
Enjoy your conversation with the Major General as she splits her coffee to her lips and goes, I know I will later. Takes a sip.
The Administrator, Zaya, walks out at decent pace.
Well, shit.
Tamarisk shoots Fida the side eye because this is kind of how factions get started, and got a very bad feeling about this.
But it's just like, oh, we're gonna have to pick sides or have someone with... He's like, no, wait. This time we have lots of leverage. We have a ship that they don't understand with a rail cannon.
So, as Cordelia sits there and shovels the last of her eggs or cereal, or the egg cereal combo that the food made up, just shovels that into her mouth and sits there and goes, okay, so either we need to get onto the ship and off the planet before I have to have a conversation with the Major General and potentially end up in the brig, or we can go ahead and get me sent into the brig and then they're going to take the ship otherwise.
I propose we get off. We get down planet side for a little bit, maybe. Maybe we could...
Mm-hmm.
When we portaled through the first time, I kind of saw something that looked familiar. I'd like to check that out if I can. Just something that I think might be worth investigating.
What do you mean?
So, the way we got around in the Third Horizon was through a series of, I guess you'd call them portals. We called them gates. Basically, they were wormholes, controlled wormholes through space. And they weren't made by us. They were made by Well, a predecessor alien race who were very advanced. We basically had been using the technology they left behind when they fled the galaxy. What you need to know, what I'm getting at here, is for a while there, I became a receptacle for all of their knowledge, and I don't have it anymore. I seem to have got some kind of lost some of it when I went through the jump to get here, but I can probably still interact with their machinery the way I used to. Not everybody can do it. It's sort of. He kind of looks to the captain. He's like, I mean, it's a knack, right? There's a knack to it. Looks between her and Tamarisk. He's like, there's a knack to it. That, right? Just that's what it is.
Yeah.
Not
everybody can do it.
So, you want to go and touch it?
He just kind of looks off to the side. He's like, I mean, I don't want to touch it. I just want to see if it's what I think it is, which would be, well, one, I want to kind of figure out what happened to. You have to understand, the people that we followed here were 7 feet tall and blue. But also, they were an incredibly advanced race, and they had met other races before us, and they got on well with them. Actually, they were mostly gone by the time humans arrived into the system. Well, into the galaxy. That's not important. The ones we met were very kind and easy to get along with. Flashback to like the mental communication through his brainstem, and he's just like, "Yep, they were very kind, very nice to get, easy to get along with." I would like to see if it is one of theirs, and I personally want to see what happened to them because they. He's like, "Do you remember when I mentioned to you the darkness,
Right, the darkness that ate the
that ate a sun, yeah.
Yeah, like ate the...
Well, it exists throughout the universe and tries to consume things within it. Its manifestation is poorly understood. We actually thought it was a religious metaphor for a long time. What I'd like to do is figure out, well, they got here. How come there's none of them? I want to know what happened to them. And I suspect we might be able to find Catton's people on this side if we go chasing that lead. And I figure if what I saw is correct, they've got some kind of device down on the planet.
Okay.
And that might have a clue.
And so you can see that Cordelia is thinking, and it's that dangerous kind of thinking face. The one where it's an idea where you can see that she's kind of fighting with herself on it and just kind of, oh, God, just she's weighing the consequences of the thoughts. If I were to pull up on the periphery, the location that the Major General has decided for colonization to happen and the location of this device, could you point out how far away it is?
I've got a pretty rough idea of where it is, but it's pretty big. I mean...
Okay. Alternately. And now that having been snuck up on by one person today is looking around very cautiously. If we were to say, drop off the equipment and the Legionnaires, and then say, we must go scouting, we've picked up an anomaly, we're going to go check that out, and just kind of leave them there and then take the periphery over to where it is.
Oh, yeah. Any one of the three of us could have the periphery. We could just tell them. I mean, they don't understand the readings.
Right.
I mean, heck, we can't.
And she's just racking up her mental court-martial list, and you can see it weighing on her. Like, it's probably just like Tamarisk is probably just like able to see. There's like a little melted candle sort of thing that's happening in Cordelia's mind right now. And she's like, okay, well, I will see what I can make happen in the least obvious, treasonous way possible. Cool.
Lieutenant Colonel, I would be remiss if I didn't inform you that something happened there that seems to have wiped out a much more advanced race than us. And I think whatever threat that is worth examining.
So,
In that way, I think you might be operating within parameters.
the bounds of trying to protect my people, as she's making justifications for it.
He's just like, you'd be investigating if the planet is actually safe for colonization, with 2 potentially hostile local groups and some kind of weird machine. He makes just a big shrug.
And all the while, being able to also see if Captain Kasra's people were also on this planet investigating the same thing.
He shrugs. He's like, I think it's worth a look. I mean, I don't see how it wouldn't be.
I slap my coffee cup down. All right, we got a plan. Go team.
Hot diggity.
And I walk out of the canteen.
Okay. Give me the breakdown, folks. What's the crew doing first?
I guess so. We're going to load up the periphery with whatever the Major General has given us in terms of people and resources. And we're going to drop them off wherever he tells us. And then en route, we're going to get some kind of reading on it. And we're going to tell the guys as we drop them off, yeah, dudes, you're going to be okay. Look out for the flowers. Don't stop and smell them. They're bad. We're going to go investigate this reading that we got. It looks anomalous, but who knows what it is. We're just going to go check it out. We'll see what's up and report back. There'd be no point in leaving the ship here with you because none of you know how it works. So goodbye.
I love this for you. I love this idea. It's a wonderful, wonderful plan.
I don't love that you love it, to be perfectly honest.
Mike approving your ideas always feels like,
I like to say that it's always good to have a plan and then remind folks that Custer had a plan. So you head down to the ship. It's at that point, Cordelia, I will make the assumption that you were going down there in your power armor rather than leaving it.
Oh, yeah. We're not going down there naked. We're going full-fledged.
No. I in no way meant to suggest that you would go down there naked. So yeah, you get, as we like to say, suited and booted and then head down to the periphery. So the crew, when it arrives, sees that there are several crates that are sort of prepped to be loaded into the periphery. There are 4 legionnaires fully outfitted in their armor. They are, as mentioned before, they are a little less colorful than Cordelia's armor. These are more like matte grays and matte greens. They conform more to a standard issue uniform. But being that Cordelia is a colonel, it's sort of hard to not give them some leeway, which seems to be, some flexibility in the military, at least something. They stand at attention as soon as you walk onto the deck. They don't salute you necessarily until you get closer. Then they do. And they step up and say, we're ready to load in when you're ready, Colonel.
Very good. I have the crew here as well in order to help us man this vessel.
They sort of collectively scan the group and then nod. And then look back towards the periphery. They get like basically, what are load lifters essentially ready to move the equipment in.
And she manages that. Here, a little to the left. Watch out for that nozzle.
Okay.
Vida leans into the captain as they're loading up, and he's just like, remember, we've got the portal rifles in the hold, so if anything gets sticky, we can always try and escape.
Okay, we'll just say that really loud so those guys can hear that.
Oh yeah, well, why do you think I whispered to you when we were over to the side?
Yeah, let's try not to get that far. I just want to get out of this unscathed and let these fine folks do what they need to do, and we're going to skedaddle.
It's in the bulkhead anyway.
That's true.
Provided the crew does not offer any resistance to the Legionnaires loading the equipment in, they do so. The periphery's hold gets pretty well full of crates. All of them are marked with a symbol most of you are not familiar with. And that is a sort of green-blue marble world, and then a group of 13 stars that ring the planet. Cordelia, you're familiar with that. That's the original, or the last Terran sort of Earth government logo that was produced. That's home, which is likely an ecological disaster, but that's neither here nor there.
Do we know what's in the crates?
No one's asked.
Oh. Is there a manifest nearby or?
Nope.
Is there writing on the crates?
No. There are numbers.
That's weird. There's usually writing on the crates.
Fido, you see numbers. You see a list of like four digits that are on each one. They seem to run through like 0, 1. So basically, they seem to run through 100 with a 0 in front of the 1, all the way up to like about 170. About 170 crates they eventually load in.
Would I have access to some sort of manifest and code to open these boxes?
Probably have to ask one of the Legionnaires what they're bringing down.
She would walk to the nearest Legionnaire that is of closer rank to her. I'm sure that there's still tiering in the system that's there.
Certainly. Yep.
Legionnaire, just to go over this and ensure that I know the equipment that is being brought to the planet. Are these marked in some sort of way? And do they need to be unpacked in some organization? What equipment are we looking at first?
We're looking at roughly, he just brings up something you haven't seen in forever, which is paper.
Whoa!
He brings out like an actual clipboard and like a stylus pen. Yeah, here's the manifest if you want to go over it.
Absolutely.
Just to give you a basic breakdown, there's a large section over here that is specifically for building quick erectable walls. There's a section over here that is for power generators that will be dropping on the planet and helping fabricate and create. And then over here, this is mostly, he sort of goes through some of the electronic and technical equipment they'll bring out. And then you eventually like sort of get through and he, the Luthus Legionnaire sort of gestures to about 6 or 8 crates. And he says, this is munitions, sir.
Compared to the number of other crates and stuff that are there, the 6 to 8 crates, does that look massive? Like, does that seem like a large number by comparison?
It really depends on like what's in them. So if there are like standard issue, like Legionnaire rifles, I mean, there are probably, 20 or 30 of them, probably way more than is necessary, but you doubt that they're all filled with rifles.
And a breakdown of these munitions, sir?
Yeah, you bet. Now you can go through there and like see what's there. There's obviously ammunition. There are, by count, there are 16 rifles amongst the cases. But then you get into some of the other stuff, which is like explosive ordnance and stick shock rounds for, quote, subduing. So they're more of a taser type round. And then there's fuel. And specifically that fuel is designated as flamer fuel.
The Major General ordered this amount of ordnance to go down on a first colonization run.
Well, from some of the reports that we'd gotten from the surface, mainly yours and some of the crew here, they said that there were some adversarial elements on the planet. And so...
Yes, that we brokered a ceasefire between. So the idea of bringing down...
Oh, no, Colonel, we mean native plant and animal species.
Oh, right. Well, just as looking at the ordinance, would I be able to kind of determine, like the plant and animal species, yes. Rifles, I feel like, to her would make sense, but big old bombs is kind of... Would that ring a bell? Like, would that, like, kind of send off a red flag for her on an initial mission?
So I would just say, too, that there aren't big bombs here.
Just splodies.
If there's, like, rocket or grenade ordnance here, it's probably what we would consider personnel level. It is not like a ship-mounted... No.
Okay, that was kind of where I was getting. I was envisioning bigger, but that's a me problem. All right, so she's looking at that and she's making a mental register of it as she's going over it. Are there any, as he's going over this, is there anything that's unaccounted for or that seems like it should be going down on this and isn't, that maybe those boxes are replacing?
I don't know about that. I think that why don't you give me a difficulty 4 challenge? We'll say that it's an intellect-based challenge for spending pool points to determine if there is something missing or perhaps if there is something out of place with what is on the manifest.
I think I'm going to use, I have an edge in it of 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I can use just 1 point of that to lower the difficulty?
Yep. Make it 3, you bet.
I would love to make it 3 instead.
Go for it. 9 or better.
I got exactly a 9.
Wonderful. So after looking over the list here, the biggest concern you have is that it doesn't look, based on what you see for the plans for like the building of structures and the, printing and energy that's going to be put out to put up, quick walls and stuff like that. This looks way more like they're putting out, like they're landing a base, not a civilian's. This is not a civilian structure. This is something that is meant to stand as a outpost first. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't be added onto, but you're fairly certain that there might be members of the crew here that would see this as a bit of an aggressive first landing.
Mm-hmm.
What you choose to do with that information, Cordelia, is totally up to you, of course.
Among those things, does it look like anything is put towards resource gathering?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So she has that information and she will hold on to the manifest. And, thank you. We will begin moving our way down there directly. And goes about doing other lieutenant colonel-y things as someone on this vessel, or captain-y things, technically, around this vessel before, and then she's going to make a point of talking to the crew once they're in the air.
Okay. Anybody else doing anything before they take off?
I was in the cargo bay since I had originally asked about the cargo.
Mm-hmm.
So I did hear everything that Cordelia talked about with the other Legionnaire.
Yeah, I don't think that either one of them were really trying to be silent.
Okay. No, I will just follow Cordelia up to the bridge and I will sit in the pilot's chair. Because I do have piloting.
Indeed.
Thank goodness one of us does.
Vida will be in the ship's machine room and just doing pre-flight checks.
Sweet. Okay.
And I'll be on the bridge.
So as the ship prepares to take off, engines get warmed up. Rakam is sort of in your communicator captain, and he's just sort of explaining what the other Legionnaires are doing. He's sort of giving you like the, all of the dish on all of their movements and what they've been doing, the places that they've been in since they've been on board. Like they're wandering the ship because they don't yet have a set. You haven't taken off, so they're just sort of viewing things. But it is interesting to get that knowledge in your ear. And then Rakam tells you that what he'll do is he'll put up a wireframe map on the navigational console, and then he'll mark the Legionnaires in a specific color so you can see where they are during flight. And then if the crew plans to take off, you begin to take off. You get that lift under you. You feel the slight gravity change. A couple of the Legionnaires have to sort of like hang on because they're not probably prepared for the gravity to shift. 2 of them, unless they are, for whatever reason, barred from the bridge, they get to the bridge and stand there. Which is, as you would know, Cordelia, sort of SOP. There should be someone near you in case there's an incident that they can assist you with. And y'all head out from the Nadir into open space. And you realize something immediately. And the thing that you realize is that the signaling station is less than like 2 clicks. The ship has moved really close to the planet. It's close to being in orbit.
Possibly above a Lagrange point.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look like you're pretty close to that. Now you look at it, Fighty. Yeah, I mean, if Yeah.
Should probably not set up on this one, though. I mean, there's usually like 3 more. He's just kind of talking out loud. He's just like, why are we sitting up right next to this one? There's something here already. God damn it. I'll have to write a report.
So, Cordelia, you have the navigational information, the location that you'll be setting down in. So you'll have to give that information, of course, to Captain Kazra and go from there.
Your pilot.
Yeah. She would do so. But
Okay.
Yeah, so she would do so. We'll start with that.
Okay. You float down towards the planet.
As we are, flying in, Fight is going to just be messaging her account, and he's like, would you be able to put something on one of the TV screen, like one of the general displays, and just have it look like it's saying anomalous reading detected?
Oh, yeah, sure. You want to mess with the military?
A little bit.
Sure.
He's just like, just something that we can be like, so we can have the guys on the bridge say, we saw them get a message saying anomalous reading, and but none of those guys know what any of these banks are. They don't know what our screens do.
Oh, okay. I got you. You need a cover story.
Yeah. I want you to take part in fraud.
Happy to. So, Captain or Pilot, I like Captain much better. I'm going to have you make a difficulty 4 piloting roll for me, because the atmosphere, as we have experienced before, upon entry into this planetary system and this planet itself is bumpy, as voted by the Patreon backers. They picked one of the qualities of some of the qualities and drawbacks of the planet. It's all part of being part of Patreon.
All right. So I am trained in piloting and navigation, so that takes it down by 1. So it gets me to 3. And is it going to be an intellect?
If we're talking about pool, it's probably intellect based. Yeah.
Okay. And then I am going to use my edge, my brand new edge point in intellect that I got with my 4 XP to get me to level, to tier 2, is going to reduce it to 2. And so that'll put me at a difficulty 2. So I need a 6 or better to get. Let's go with that. Got an 8.
Fabulous. So you begin to navigate through all of these different clouds. That's really what troubles the atmosphere here. The atmosphere is dirty, and so there's a lot of cloud debris, faint debris that gets into some of the weather patterns, and it really makes a mess of things. But you navigate through it reasonably well. You do get something that displays on some of the screens here, including your navigation screen, that there is some sort of strange energy field, that some sort of surge and anomalous energy that's been detected on one portion of the northern continent. And there are some alarms that go off. It clearly catches the Legionnaires' attention. And so, yeah, there's this anomalous reading that comes up on the screen. And Cordelia, your Legionnaires, the 2 behind you, sort of react to There are audible alarms going off as you're going through the atmosphere, and it looks like there's some strange energy readings.
Does this seem like part of the initial plan, or is this actually from the atmosphere of us roughly going through it?
It's really hard to tell, because all of the sensors that the Periphery are, basically using, and also the display screens they're projecting that message. Mm-hmm. So I would just submit to you that it would be very difficult for you to tell that it was fake.
Oh, okay. Good. Cordelia's having a moment of looking at the screens and going, Kasra and Vari, what am I looking at here?
So you see, this is the planet. And at this point, I'm just really fucking with Cordelia.
Yeah, Cordelia's biting the inside of her cheek and nods and just goes, I'm meaning, and she's gesturing at the alarms, and that. This is a new vessel to me and not to you.
I don't know what we're seeing. We're seeing there's a energy surge here in the northern part. Maybe we should go look at that.
Huh. Are we able to, and she's clocking this as well, are we able to at least establish at the rally point? I don't want to risk going into something unknown with so many souls aboard this vessel. Is it safe to get to the rally point?
Is it safe to get to the rally point?
It does seem to be, the coordinates do seem to be okay as far as the weather, but I also think that since there are several conspirators on board now, that one of the two of you are going to have to sell the idea of this.
Fidus sends a message up from, and like he'd normally just message, everybody personally, but he's just like, he's going to send it on ship-wide broadcast. He's just like, Captain, whatever these readings are, they seem to be, whatever this energy surge is, it seems to be messing with the condensers in the engine. And he's just like, I don't know, the engine doesn't really have a condenser, but like, Captain, the energy surges seem to be interfering with the condensers. Right now, I've got it within controlled parameters. However, I think this is going to be worthy of investigation. We've only made planetfall once, and this didn't happen before.
Well, pilot, then I assume it would be best for you to, I trust your judgment on finding a place for us to land that's going to mitigate anything that could happen to the condensers.
No problem, Cap. I got it.
Okay, so I'll ask you, Amara, are you still planning on landing at the rally? You called it a rally point. That's fine. We can use the term rally point. Are you still planning on landing there?
Well, our fine engineer has told us that it might be worthy of investigation at the energy surge. Oh, Captain, where would you like me to go? Make a decision.
I'm trying. I gave you the idea of saying, hey, if there's something wrong with the location we're heading to, cough, cough, maybe there's another location we need to land, cough, cough.
See, I love this plan.
All right, we're going to the northern. We're going. Look at the ship is headed to the northern part of the planet. I think it wants to go there.
Well, I love this for you. Okay. So I'm gonna have
She looks to Amara and then looks back to the other guys that are there.
Yeah, they look a little confused because clearly Amara says the ship wants to go there. What?
I mean, they don't know what technology we have. We could have ships that sense danger.
Sure, I don't disagree with you, Morgan, but they're not going to think like that. They're going to think like, what do you mean the ship is thinking?
Oh, they haven't been introduced to Rakam yet either.
No.
We've been quite purposely keeping Rakam quiet on my end.
Cordelia is taking a look at it, and she's kind of giving eyes to Kasra, and also looking back to Tamarisk of just kind of hey, just how there was a plan and we're going to try and get to this point, but now are we going to the? It's if we can land at the rally point, then this is something that we can further investigate in a moment. But we need to offload this equipment before we go to an energy surge with the equipment that we have on board. Unless you say, and she's looking there, unless you say that it is unsafe to go to the initial coordinates. Pilot of this vessel that understands how this vessel works and the readings that come from it.
Oh, look, she knows how to make a decision. And I head towards the rally point.
Okay. You head towards the rally point. After you're through the atmosphere, there's really no other difficulties in you getting there. You are able to set down, which the Legionnaires are very happy. You probably hear a little bit of chatter just on the helmet channel about there probably should be a commissioned pilot in charge of the ship, in charge of piloting, because they're not sure that this pilot understands how a ship works. Now, that's all self-contained. That's military channel, but you certainly hear that.
Is there a way for me to speak inside of my helmet to them without the others hearing?
Oh yeah. No, you have other Legionnaires. You have your own channels to talk to. Yeah.
Yeah, other channel stepping back, kind of doing that thing where it's like mute, like, it's just contained within the helmet of just, they're the only ones who understand this technology. The amount of a learning curve that would put us behind on trying to get one of our pilots behind the wheel of this thing would put us behind on the Major General's orders.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And she's just like inside of there, but it's like, but I do understand your concerns. I have my reservations with them as well. That being said, I just don't want us to mess with anything that is aboard this vessel to the point of where it could not be able to serve as a shuttle back and forth between us and the Nadir.
Yeah, you get affirmatives from all of them. That makes sense. They realize that right now, the Periphery is the only craft you have that can go between planet and the Nadir, so it's pretty important. When you set the landing, gear out and then land on the spot, you land on what is effectively a lightly rocky field. It's mostly grasslands here. There are some portions of it that have a little bit more elevation. What you do land very close to is a large body of water. I would say it's a significantly large body of water. And, given their orders, Cordelia, your legionnaires basically step into process and start doing the things that they were supposed to do. They start preparing to offload the equipment. One of them has to sort of go out and clear some of the larger rocks from the field to get space, but they do that. I know that the crew is planning on, say, going to investigate an anomaly, but before that happens, I would love to know if everyone's doing anything specifically.
FIDA will be helping the guys unload. Obviously, they've got power armor, so they can carry the heavier kit. But, the smaller, lighter kit, I'm happy to help them get it off the ship as soon as possible.
They certainly appreciate the help. It doesn't take long to understand their numbering system and where they need things. It's almost like an older library system in the sense that like certain ranges of numbers have certain types of equipment in it.
Sure, makes sense.
So like if a 100 through a 110 that goes here, a 111 through a 120 goes here, etc., etc. And getting it unloaded probably is going to take, even with help, probably takes about 30 minutes, maybe an hour. The powered lift units help a ton. And then obviously, a total of 6 legionnaires in power armor help a ton too, because they can each take, one of these crates and move it.
I'm really just doing this to, well, one, I said, get them off the ship quicker. But two, build a little bit of camaraderie with them, understand, where they're coming from, what they're doing.
Yep.
Just because they're possibly inimical to what we've done, or we may not like what they're doing, doesn't mean they're not doing their best. One thing I'm going to do is talk to the guy who basically second to Cordelia here in terms of rank. Yeah.
So the person who is second, because really all of these are essentially like fairly grunts. There's one sergeant here that is the lead of the squad, and he reports up to Cordelia.
I'm going to address him and I'm just going to be like, Sergeant, I'm really sorry to bother you. Are you guys going to be okay for water? Just because we haven't figured out, set up any planet-side purification, and we don't know what the water here is. We haven't tried purifying it.
No, we should be set. Everybody's got an internal tank here. It could last for 72 if it needed to. We got some hours on that, and then we brought our own purification tanks to see what we can get cleaned.
I've been given tech by some of the locals, and I'm going to try working on that to get it up and running ASAP to purify local systems. But stretched pretty thin at the moment, so you'll know about it when it's done.
Hey, is it true that there are fucking birdmen down here?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Birdmen with guns, and how do I explain it? Their culture's kind of militant. They seem to hold grudges pretty well. So if you see one, maintain a polite distance, I guess. That'd be my advice, Sergeant. I don't really have a ton of hands on.
You think they're raptors?
You'd want to talk to Mix.
Do you think they're based on raptors?
Fight is like, I don't know what that is.
Oh, birds that hunt. You said they were militant.
Oh yeah, they basically drove the other intelligent species on the planet underground for, well, a couple of decades, if not longer.
All right, we'll keep a lookout.
Yeah, they don't. Based on my understanding, the guys they drove underground, there was some kind of grudge there. There's a history. I don't know the details. We've had minimal interaction with those guys, so I don't really know what's up. But if they come around, I'm sure you'll know what to do. Just use your best judgment.
He looks a little unsettled, but then goes back to doing what he was.
What you really want to look out for are the plants.
What?
Yeah, plant can strip a spacesuit. They've some kind of bioactive acid combined with enzymes can strip out destroyed my spacesuit. That's why I'm not wearing one.
Shit.
Took out the hose, tons of stuff. Took off the top layer of my skin.
Wow.
That was just surface contact, so But watch out for big flowers.
Will do.
They seem to be mobile, so they can move around. I'm sure it was all in your briefing.
Yeah, of course. They do begin working as soon as all the boxes are deployed properly. They start working on essentially building the first foundation and structure of what they believe will be a competent and useful outpost. The crew is planning on taking a different path, and they're going to, I assume, then get back on board the Periphery and go somewhere else. Where exactly, besides going and investigating the anomaly, where are you actually going to head to?
So, this is something I think we might have discussed before we left, but I might have been easier to just discuss it on board the Periphery now that everybody's off, because I don't know if the Major General and his boys know about all those microphones that are used for calibrating the system. Probably safe to guess somebody in the administrative class does know about it. Anyway, Rakam can be trusted. The Nadir itself can't. He's just like, well, now that we've gotten rid of our guests, I think it might be worth visiting the Oni, because I want to. He just turns to Terrence. He's like, I've got a few questions for some of them, and you might be able to help, being able to speak their language.
Certainly.
I feel like we might be missing a trick if we don't look up what happened to our blue friends before we kind of settle down. Also, give them a heads up that things are out of our hands now. We're not the sole representatives, but we will be acting as an intermediary between them, and at least I think that's a good idea. I mean, I assume you're probably a couple of steps ahead of me here. And the silence is unnerving to Fida, and he just kind of stands there and fidgets. But yeah, my intention would be that we could maybe land near the Oni base that we visited, settlement that we visited previously. And I'd like to ask them about the machine beneath the surface. I have a feeling because they live underground, they probably know what it is. I mean, I don't know what it is. I think it might be a power supply of some kind, but I'm not 100%.
Makes sense to me. We don't want too many details getting back to the Major General on this. Whatever we end up finding. Side-eyeing Cordelia.
Which brings me to a bit of a request. Is there any way, and she's just again adding to her list of court-martialable offenses, is there any way that perhaps using the energy, and she'll even take her helmet off and everything for this one to kind of resist anything along that. Is there any way that we could potentially jam the communications so that then they cannot report back anything? Using the energy surge as a way to keep them from communicating back with the Nadir while on the ground?
It's like, well, we've got the meme cannon.
The what?
And he's just like, oh, right. We've got a, it's not a cannon, it's a beam. But it messes with computing systems by giving them random puzzles and signals. It's basically just it sends signals which it must compute and puzzles that it must solve. And it's basically just ties up computing systems for a while. Messes with comms, messes with computers.
I just want to be able to give us enough coverage so that if I say, hey, we're about to go and fly off in this direction to investigate, to scout the area, something along that while they are working on this, that if we're gone for a hot second and Major General tries to call down and check in on things, that then we can just say, oh yeah, well, we came in the atmosphere, weird energy delay, something. I don't know. You're the technology man. I'm just someone who's going against everything that I swore an oath to. No big deal.
What's military protocol if you can't be reached on a planet that you haven't been on before?
That's a good point. You know, they're probably going to try and come down here, but with what? The entire colony ship?
No, they don't have a portal gun. They don't have a spaceship. I mean, no offense, but I don't think any of those people could land that thing. For one thing, I don't think it's capable of atmospheric re-entry.
It depends on who they wake up next. Because they're already making their...
And then Fighter remembers the design, and he's like, oh wait, the outside is covered in clusters of shuttles.
Oh. Well, okay, scrap that plan. We did tell them that we were going to investigate something. Our only thing is going to be how long whatever investigation we do takes. So if we give ourselves a reasonable time limit so that then if we get hailed by the Nadir, or if the boys get hailed by the Nadir, they have something to report back on, and we stay within that. We may be able to get done what we need to get done. You're able to investigate what it is here, and then hopefully be able to get in contact with the Oni to update them on what's happening and our processes. And she looks to Tamarisk and she's just like, you know that I will try to do whatever I can in order to keep the peace that's happening here. But I have to do it carefully or else I will no longer be able to be a bridge to do this because I will be stuck in a tiny room.
I completely understand. Appreciate everything that you've done so far. We should probably get moving.
Mm-hmm.
We're eating up time.
That's true.
Okay. The group heads out with the mission of contacting the Ani and explaining the changing landscape of the planet that they live on. And I think that's a fantastic point for our episode to close. And so we'll see all of you back next time, and we'll see how the next round of diplomatic negotiations go. Thanks, and have a great night.